AI is an interesting use case because it has like a really shiny exterior, and then underpinning it, there are really deep technical problems to be solved, especially on the blockchain. And most of it comes down to compute power. And the team at Offchain Labs has worked on a product called Stylus, which is slowly increasing the amount of computation you have per block on the blockchain, which is unlocking some of these use cases, whether it's AI training models or, let's say, a value at risk calculation for a large financial transaction.
Hello, and welcome to Public Key. I'm your host, Caitlin Barnett, Director of Regulation and Compliance at Chainalysis. How does someone who has been through multiple bear and bull markets in crypto cope with such a volatile industry? Keep building. In this Live from Links episode, I reconnect with my former Gemini coworker, Ira Auerbach, head of Tandem Offchain Labs, and we go deep on the scalability and innovation challenges and successes on the Ethereum blockchain. Ira shares the initiatives at NASDAQ and Gemini that bridge traditional finance products to the crypto market and how his focus has shifted at Offchain Labs, where they are fostering blockchain innovation, solving complex computational challenges, and emphasizing stablecoins' impact on market dynamics. Ira does a great job of talking digital assets and global finance, and the Chainalysis team just released a blog that highlights the Bitcoin strategic reserves and goes behind the changing architecture of sovereign finance. Head down to the show notes and click to find out what is a Bitcoin strategic reserve, the impact on markets and institutions, and the USA approach to reserve. We can't help but appreciate Ira's investment knowledge and his discussion, but please remember, folks, our podcasts are for informational purposes only and are not intended to provide investment, legal, tax, and/or financial advice. Listeners should consult their own advisors before making these types of decisions. Now, on to the episode. Hi, I'm really excited today because I'm joined by my friend Ira, who is the head of Tandem at Offchain Labs. Me and Ira go way back to 2018?
I think 2017 potentially, yeah.
Okay, at Gemini. So this is going to be fun.
Thanks, I'm excited to be here.
So it appears you started your tech-focused career at Palantir before joining Gemini. You were at Gemini between, 2017 and 2022, which means you experienced 2 bull markets and 1 bear market. What did you learn from those highs and lows in the crypto space?
I think the general theme throughout every bull market and every bear market is keep building, right? We have an amazing community of people who are focused on the mission of bringing decentralization to everywhere.
Yeah.
And regardless of the bull or bear market, like that mission is the same. And people keep chugging along, building. And my advice to anybody through whatever market is keep working on your vision because it's gonna turn around.
Yeah, absolutely. So you became SVP of Digital Assets at NASDAQ for 2 years. Can you share what projects and initiatives you were working on when you were at NASDAQ?
Yeah, of course. We had 2 main initiatives, or 2 main umbrellas. The first was to build out a custody solution focused on institutions. And the second was to bring the NASDAQ products that are in traditional markets to the crypto world. So that's the matching engine, the anti-financial fraud tool, and the transaction monitoring, et cetera, and work with crypto companies within the ecosystem to change those products ever so slightly to suit their use cases.
So was there a particular focus at such a traditional player in the space when it came to digital assets? You kind of alluded to this a little bit.
Yeah, it changed over time. The 2 years that I was there, we worked with institutions ranging from every big name you can think of. But I would say there are a few things that stuck out. BlackRock obviously listed their ETF on the NASDAQ exchange, so we worked closely with their team over the years and their interactions with the SEC. So institutions were really focused on the ETF and bringing the access to Bitcoin to essentially everybody with a brokerage account in the US. And the second focus we heard from institutions was along stablecoins, particularly yield-bearing stablecoins and the capital efficiencies that those can bring to the traditional financial markets. So if you are to purchase a US Treasury and sell it out, there's a multi-day delay. If it's over the weekend with a holiday, you're talking even longer.
Yeah.
And stablecoin infrastructure, as I'm sure every client of yours is asking about, allows that to happen in block time, which for the Ethereum blockchain is 12 seconds. So you can change attribution of interest within 12 seconds. So institutions were really focused on that.
I don't think I can have one conversation these days where stablecoins don't get mentioned.
It's really in vogue, from institutions to crypto native firms to people on the Hill. Like, that is all people are focused on.
And we were one of the first stablecoin issuers at Gemini.
We were the Gemini dollar.
The Gemini dollar.
I think that one was 2018, right?
I think so. Yeah, us and Paxos got approved that same day.
Yeah, that was an exciting time.
Yes. Okay, so let's jump into what you're doing at Offchain Labs. For those that aren't familiar with Offchain Labs, maybe provide some insights into what you're building over there, including Arbitrum and Prism.
Sure. So Offchain Labs is the main contributor to the Arbitrum blockchain, but that is run by the DAO. So Offchain Labs is not Arbitrum, but is a main tech contributor. And we work on things like Bold and Stylus and helping to scale the Ethereum ecosystem and make it more secure. The Prism side, Prismatic Labs, they're focused directly on Ethereum, allowing people to interact with the consensus mechanism of Ethereum, or in other terms, helping to add tech power to secure the Ethereum blockchain.
Offchain Labs appears to be solely focused on scaling Ethereum, with so many different layer ones building their own blockchain and the constraints they felt on the Ethereum network. Why do you and the team feel it's important to build out the Ethereum ecosystem?
The Ethereum ecosystem has a smart contract basis to it, which allows people to do computations on top of it. These computations, at the moment, it's a giant shared computer, and it's not where anybody wants it to be in terms of the ability to do computations or handle different use cases. So we're really focused on the scalability of that from two perspectives: allowing more computation to happen on it and allowing additional use cases to happen within it. So additional use cases could be something like AI, where they need more processing power, or it could be something like a traditional financial transaction where you need confidentiality, and that needs to be built into the system. And we're working with some really cool teams at Tandem that are working on these use cases that we can potentially talk about.
All right, this is exciting. What are some of the biggest challenges on the Ethereum blockchain that you're solving for?
I think we touched on two of them in the usability, confidentiality space and the decentralization space. So at Tandem, we've invested in 3 companies focused on these use cases. The first is the Zai gaming platform. Which, when we talk about the scalability and usability, Zai is bringing gaming to the blockchain, and as such is expanding the computation and speed and usability that allows for these games to move over from your Xbox or your PlayStation or your PC onto the blockchain. Second, we're working with is Espresso Systems, working on a decentralized sequencer, which is exactly what it sounds like for those listening. A sequencer puts things in order, but has been very centralized to date. So we're working on some research that will allow anybody to participate in that sequencing and thus bring interoperability among the projects built on top of Ethereum. And then the last one that we've invested in publicly is Phoenix, who are working on FHE, or fully homomorphic encryption, which is a fancy way of saying we're going to run computations on top of encrypted data. This allows for confidentiality. So if I make a trade at Morgan Stanley, for instance, in my brokerage account, you can't see it. But if you do a trade on the blockchain, everybody can see it. So this is one step in the direction of bringing that confidentiality to the blockchain.
Super interesting.
Yeah, and as a result, opens up these use cases for financial transactions, but also for healthcare, anything having to do with PII, et cetera.
Super interesting. So although Ethereum definitely had its moment during DeFi summer of 2021, with many using the blockchain to power the NFT movement, it seems currently that people are flocking to chains like Solana, who have captured and ignited the meme coin hype. How do you think Ethereum gets back a little bit of the luster that it's lost these last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here to tell anybody exactly what blockchain to use. If you're a developer, do your own research, of course. But we're super focused on the Ethereum blockchain and bringing that scalability and these additional use cases. And we hope that that will attract as many developers as it possibly can to come build with us and help grow the community.
So Tandem is a unique partner studio and venture capital arm of Offchain Labs. Can you describe the different approaches the partner studio Studio and the venture capital arm have?
So Tandem is the broad umbrella term that we have for our investment arm, and within that we have essentially two divisions. They work closely together, but two separate initiatives. The first being our venture capital initiative, which is the same as any other VC out there in that we participate in rounds. We work off of Offchain Labs' balance sheet. We don't have LPs in the fund, and we're focused mostly on pre-seed, seed, and Series A companies, and are blockchain agnostic. Within that investment mandate, we're focused on companies that are looking to grow
not
the
just
community.
Ethereum.
Not just Ethereum, not just Arbitrum, but anybody tackling really novel blockchain scaling problems. And the second is our partner studio, where instead of giving that monetary capital in a traditional VC relationship, we'll give human capital. We have the researchers, the developers, the go-to-market specialists, the marketers, et cetera, that have helped to build and launch the Arbitrum ecosystem and the Prism Layer 1 client. And oftentimes, the companies that we're talking to that are looking to scale are struggling with some deep research problem. So we could set milestones with them and work towards them jointly with our researchers or our developers. And once that milestone is hit, that's how we would earn our equity or token payout rather than giving them the monetary capital.
Oh, that's a super interesting approach. So head of Tandem seems like an extremely broad and difficult role covering many parts. What is your mandate as you go into the office every day at Tandem?
Yeah, it might be different tomorrow and the next day if you ask me again, but I spent a lot of my time meeting with teams building within the ecosystem, working internally with our product team and our business development team, understanding pain points, and then trying to turn that into some sort of investment thesis and actioning that through either venture capital investments or with the partner studio.
So heavily relying on your background as a product guy, and now just a jack of all trades with it.
Yeah, I hope it's successful, but yes, very reliant on my background in product and the work we did together at Gemini.
Love it. So you have a team of experts across research, product, and engineering. So what is the latest in blockchain innovation that you and the team have been focused on?
Yeah, we've touched on it a little bit, and I don't want to overuse the term, but really scalability is it. We have this shared computer in Ethereum that we're all using, and there's a lot of work that we need to do to make it what it's capable of actually becoming. So I think 99.9% of our researchers' efforts are pointed around that, whether it's around confidentiality or having more compute per block space, or making sure that the security is properly decentralized and there's no censorship, et cetera. So these problems, they have like a wide berth of what they can be, but they're all focused on the same thing and making this shared computer bigger, better,
faster,
and more robust.
Awesome. So after what seems like a brutal 2 years in crypto after the hype of 2021 bull market, it seems like cryptocurrency is getting back on its feet. What does the current investment market look like? Are VCs focused more on AI now? Have projects moved away from VC investing into other avenues, including crowdsourcing and token launches? It's a very long, loaded question.
Yeah, there are a few questions in there. I'll try my best, but just interrupt me if I don't get to all the points. We lost a lot of traditional VCs, post FTX, Three Arrows Capital, et cetera, that were kind of inching into the space in 2021 and super excited, and then this all happened, and it didn't really have the staying power. But in talking with other VCs in the space and other players such as Offchain Labs, the view is cautiously optimistic. Nice run up in price that's kind of settled back down a little bit, but I think more macro than that, there's a lot of optimism around the new administration, what they're going to bring to the crypto world, and we started the conversation around stablecoins. Regulation there looks like it might be here in a matter of weeks, potentially. So all these stablecoin infrastructure projects that have been heads down writing code for the past couple of years are now cool kids.
We heard a rumor at Lynx that stablecoin will be before Easter and market infrastructure will be by August.
Yeah, the August recess is what everybody's focused on, right? So that would be incredibly
amazing if we could do it. So are there any specific criteria or characteristics that companies looking to seek investment from Tandem need to have?
We invest across a wide range of companies. I would say the general theme is that they're looking to tackle difficult blockchain problems.
Okay.
Like we like the meaty picks and shovels.
Yeah.
We have a great research team. That's kind of our advantage, I think, from the investing point of view, is that we have a deep understanding of the problems out there in scaling Ethereum. And thus we can see in the companies what they're attempting to accomplish and how meaningful it is.
And that's so fun for the researchers. Like they will never get bored because they're constantly being shifted from project to project. So
yeah,
probably a pretty interesting opportunity for them.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
So from the companies to the researchers, asking questions of them, but also a research team is doing their own work that is bleeding into the investment thesis that then we have as a resource to come help these companies grow.
So Tandem announced earlier this year it invested in Camelot, the largest native DEX on Arbitrum. After FTX, Celsius, and other centralized crypto issues, it felt like there was a shift to DeFi and DEX. Is that what interested you in Camelot?
Camelot is a great company with a great founding team, seamless UX, which was one of the big things that attracted us to the team, growing user base, deep liquidity, kind of all the things that you want from an exchange that you would describe in a decentralized or a centralized fashion. And they keep innovating, whether it's yield generating strategies or swaps or ways to provision liquidity. So we're extremely bullish on the team.
And so you kind of touched on this a bit. It's not your average DEX. It also is a launchpad for other projects and has over 75 partners. Can you talk about the importance of these partner relationships and how this drives projects like Camelot?
Crypto is an incredibly community-driven ecosystem. So the rising tide raises all ships, and Camelot reaching out to other partners and helping them, whether it's get listed or et cetera, helps everybody.
Yeah. So we can't expect you to pick favorites, but are there any other projects that you've invested in that have interesting use cases or that are servicing unique areas of blockchain technology?
It's like asking me to choose between my
child.
children. Yeah, exactly. We've been fortunate enough that the 3 deals that we've done on the partner studio side have all been great partners, all looking to scale Ethereum, all very novel approaches to deep technical problems. So I have a complete inability to choose between the 3 of them.
It's a good problem to have, though.
It is. Champagne problems.
Yeah, exactly. Can you talk about any deals that you have in the pipeline, even if you can't give us specifics, just like concepts or areas of the industry that we haven't already covered?
There's 2 that we're working on right now. One, to play to our theme from earlier, is a stablecoin infrastructure project that we're very, very excited about. And another looking at censorship or the lack thereof, or how to prove out that there was or was not censorship of a message that was sent to the blockchain.
Super interesting.
Yeah, that one's a super cool one. We're working with our partners there. Hope to have some potential announcements for you soon.
Awesome. With everything happening in AI and even quantum computing, what do you think the future of investing in blockchain for Tandem and the industry as a whole looks like?
Yeah, AI is an interesting use case because it has like a really shiny exterior, and then underpinning it, there are really deep technical problems to be solved, especially on the blockchain.
Yeah.
And most of it comes down to compute power.
Mm-hmm.
Like these training modules for large language models, you hear about like NVIDIA selling out of chips every other week, and Elon Musk trying to get his hands on more and more, and Sam Altman and him, debating over Twitter who's gonna get the next shipment. So the processing power is really key. So from a blockchain infrastructure perspective, like that is what you need to work for to enable all of these use cases. And the team at Offchain Labs has worked on a product called Stylus, which is not where we want to end up at the end goal, but is slowly increasing the amount of computation you have per block on the blockchain, which is unlocking some of these use cases, whether it's AI training models or, let's say, a value at risk calculation for a large financial transaction.
Yeah.
These are all now plausible within the Ethereum ecosystem, where just a few months ago they weren't necessarily.
After seeing the lack of due diligence many said went into the investors of FTX, what are some areas that you focus on during the due diligence process, and what are some of the obstacles or challenges that you see companies have that make them not the right investment?
Yeah, I can't speak to the due diligence done on FTX. I wasn't in that room, but for our investments, we certainly do know your business or know your customer due diligence on all of our partners. And try to read into if they're public smart contracts, we'll read into those as much as we can and try to take a robust approach to doing background on our partners before we invest in them.
Yeah, I think everyone learned a few lessons after FTX, right? So you've been at Tandem for less than 5 months. Can you explain for those looking to get into crypto as a career the differences for working for a crypto service provider like Gemini, to a TradFi company that touches digital assets like NASDAQ, and now to Offchain Labs?
Yeah, I've been on a few sides of the table. They seem to be converging. I think when we were having this conversation when we first met in 2017, there would be these like huge gaps in the market, but now it seems to be converging. So I very much think it's a spectrum. But on the ends of that spectrum, you probably have an institution like NASDAQ or other traditional companies that are looking at bringing crypto through the traditional rails, whether it's listing Bitcoin for trading via the ETF on the NASDAQ stock exchange. So it's very much taking crypto and putting it into traditional rails. On the other side of the spectrum, you have somebody like Offchain Labs that are quite literally building new rails and trying to make them as fast and as robust as centralized systems are, with the added benefits of security and decentralization and this lack of censorship. And I think in the middle of the spectrum, you have companies like Coinbase or Gemini or Kraken, which are trying to connect the two pieces and be the bridge from, I think this is the slogan of many of them, be the bridge from traditional finance to the decentralized ecosystem.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny, links over the years, you see like how many more traditional players are even coming here every year. Like it's so crazy, especially I think post the new administration, everyone is getting really excited and really bullish that they'll be able to interact a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And you get a lot of personnel movement between the two now, from traditional finance to crypto native, but also from crypto native back to traditional finance. So I think those lines are blurring and are only going to become more blurred over time.
I agree. So back to stablecoins again, they've gotten a lot of attention by both the crypto industry and regulators in 2025. What are your thoughts about the stablecoin infrastructure players in the space and the integration of the technology in many of the payment platforms like PayPal and Stripe?
Bullish is the answer. We could go into more details, but overall bullish. I think it's a great first use case. It's very, very understandable. You know, when's the last day that you didn't use a dollar or some derivative of a US dollar? So there's a huge total addressable market for this product. And as we talked about earlier, I think we're cautiously optimistic in this industry about the new Congress pushing through some sort of law so that we all have a concrete understanding of what the rules are and can push forward.
Yeah, that's the big question we always get when we're talking to a lot of the traditional financial institutions who are really interested in stable coins, but they want to know like what the law is, and it's not there yet. So I think we're all like waiting with bated breath. Can you share where or what is next on the horizon for Tandem and Offchain Labs more generally, and how you'd like to position yourselves in the current market?
Yeah, so Tandem has an investment target for the year with dollars to deploy on the VC side, and then we're targeting 7 partnerships on the partner studio side. Obviously, these are like in-depth, very involved relationships. So we have 3 right now. We're looking to add 4 more, and hopefully I could come back at the end of the year and talk about them with the same level of excitement that I have for these 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the best method for listeners to see what you're working on and connect with you on social media?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Twitter, @Ira Auerbach, and then I would also follow the Offchain Labs Twitter account as well for updates from them.
Awesome. Well, Ira, this was so fun. Thank you so much for joining us here, and hope you're having fun at Links.
Thanks for having me. I certainly am.
What a great episode, and there is nothing better than to sit in person with experts like Ira to have these conversations. Now we know our listeners love our episodes on pig butchering, as they are the most downloaded podcasts, so you will be happy to know that on May 29, 2025, the U.S. Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control sanctioned Funnel Technology, a Philippines-based technology firm, and its administrator for their roles in facilitating cryptocurrency investment scams, commonly known as pig butchering. Funnel's scams have defrauded U.S. victims of more than $200 million since inception. In its designation, OFAC listed 2 cryptocurrency addresses associated with Funnel Technology Inc. on its specially designated nationals list. The Federal Bureau of Investigation's Internet Crime Complaint Center also issued an advisory, which includes technical details such as infrastructure and IP addresses used by Funnel's operations. Head down to the show notes and click the link for the blog, where we'll look at Funnel's role in facilitating pig butchering scams and the on-chain activity of the addresses associated with Funnel.